You're tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network, featuring news, interviews, and commentary on all things Black Hollywood. Hollywood redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Black Hollywood Live Portraits, featuring intimate, in-depth interviews with Black Hollywood stars and influencers. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host for Black Hollywood Live Portraits, Derrial Christon.
Hey everyone, you're watching Black Hollywood Live Portraits. I'm your host, Derrial Christon, and here joining me in the studio today is Courtney Stewart.
What's up, everybody?
And DJ Jesse J.
What's up?
And our very special guest today, we are quite excited about. It is Richard Brooks from Being Mary Jane on BET.
Woo, woo.
How you doing?
Hey, very good, very good.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me on Valentine's Day.
That's right.
Thank you
and
for
during the
spending it
traffic.
with us.
Right.
Yeah, sharing the love out here.
Yeah, your show is doing unbelievable in the ratings. I mean, this is, they say BET's most popular scripted show that they've ever had. So.
Yeah, we've been #1 on cable, actually, for dramas and stuff, scripted shows. Yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah, it's just phenomenal hit. It's outrageous.
Yeah, they say the way it's tracking right now is like it's the new Scandal.
Well, yeah, I mean, we love Scandal too, so it's cool. Ain't no real competition.
Right,
but
we can have more than one.
That
competition.
We can have more than one.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. You know what I mean? It's room for everybody.
Now, you grew up in Cleveland?
I did, yeah, East Cleveland. Yeah, till I was about 16, then I went to Michigan, go to school, art school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, how did your inspirations for acting start? I know you took dancing lessons, singing lessons, and acting all together.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, once I was in Cleveland. I was, I guess, about 11 and 6th grade, and I saw a little school play. I mean, it was a story, I was like sitting in the audience, and they were doing Hansel and Gretel. And I had this feeling in there where I was going like, how do you get to be Hansel? You know what I mean? While I'm sitting in the audience. So after that, I just set out to figure out how I could get into the drama programs in the schools, even though it was like, not much of a program. But then I started volunteering for drama classes. And when I got to junior high school, and they had a nice little program. It was a CETA program when I was growing up for the summer programs where we could. They would give you most of the kids would be like cleaning streets, picking up trash on the highways, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they had like this little theater program, which was crazy. We put on a play. We would create a musical. We had one like scuffed up, decked out Alice. We would take like nursery rhymes, and we would, and at the end of the summer, all the kids who were working out in the hot sun and stuff would come and get like, we would do all our performances for them. So I was actually getting paid to act as a kid, which was crazy, in a certain kind of way. And then I went to Caramoo and Interlochen Arts Academy, went to New York, and it all took off pretty fast.
Now, did you have a preference since you kind of were like a triple threat? You could sing, act, and dance. Did you have one that you enjoyed more, and then acting kind of took the lead, I'll say? But what did you have one that you enjoyed more?
Well, I mean, it was crazy. I really, of course, I loved the acting, and but what was really weird was like for instance, when I was at Interlochen, I would do we would do a talent show or whatever like that, and you would do one of the songs, like I did one from Pearly, Victorious, and in those 3 minutes, you could just rock the house, you know what I mean? You could get everybody to a standing ovation, you could get all this power and energy going on, and in a play, it might take you 2 hours or 3 hours of doing like, some August Wilsons or something like that to try to get a little standing ovation, So I definitely love the music like that, but film and TV is really, is really where I love the most, I guess, and but it's weird. When I was starting out, I thought that if I came out as a musical actor or doing musicals on Broadway or off-Broadway, it would be hard to be taken serious as a dramatic actor. So that led me to come out to L.A. and start working in film and TV. And now it's hard to be taken serious as a singer. No, but it's good. Yeah, it's all good.
And they say that theater, you were talking about all your years in theater, that's the best training for an actor, for TV, film, for whatever it is within that industry. Do you feel that that's really a true statement, that theater kind of preps you for everything else that falls in line for entertainment business?
Well, I think, some things have changed. I think there's a lot of people from the music industry and all kind of areas, sports and everything, just starting to act and getting great parts and learning on the job. But, theater, if you want to be a serious actor, I think if you want to be learn your craft and be and bring something special to the work. Yeah, I think theater helps a lot. Yeah. that kind of training.
Well, we're talking a lot about higher education and things at Black Hollywood Live and how it's not quite as accessible as it's been in the past. It's really expensive to get college degrees and things like that. What do you think about theater as a college major and people that are going through school and spending thousands of dollars and going into debt to do that and want to pursue it later?
I know, it is hard, actually. My daughters are actually studying. One of my daughters is at Boston University right now as we speak, studying acting. And we had that conversation maybe even last night, because there's a question, because you can find yourself all of a sudden like $200,000 in debt after 4 years of school.
Quickly.
You know? Yeah. And how many acting jobs are you going to have to work in order to be able to pay that back?
Yeah.
So it's a tough one. But it does seem like the business has shifted when I spoke to my agent about it, and they almost want you to have like an MFA, you know. It's almost like the entry card to getting in the New York theater scene right now. So it is a big ticket to get in, and there's a lot of competition to get in to be a great actor or to be a working actor. And I guess it just depends on your confidence and your breaks. But the agents now, because of the investment, the time they have to put into you, they do want you to have invested in yourself and your talent and your craft, so that you have a better chance to work and earn. And so that does impress the talent buyers out there. It does when you come in as a credit. You know, if you're a new actor coming out, I think saying you have a BA or MA in fine arts or something like that, and you're really trained and really serious, it shows that you are serious and that you've taken the steps to become the best that you can be before you enter the workplace. So I guess it does help. I studied at Circle in the Square. I guess I was lucky because my school, Interlochen Arts Academy, was an arts prep school. So I graduated there. It was 2 years there, which was kind of like a college. And then when I went to Circle in the Square, which was kind of like a conservatory grad school in a way, I was able to get in there when I was 18. So by 20, I was really highly trained. But it still was tough, you know. It still was tough without having like Yale or Juilliard kind of background, something like that, which would really just impress everybody right off the bat, you know.
What's something that you kind of that theater taught you about yourself from that training?
Well, that is part of what the beginning of training is, you know, to strip away your unconscious habits, the things that your mannerisms, things you don't really recognize about yourself, or your inhibitions. I think, especially with a career like acting and music and things like that, where there's not stability, so you may not have the parental support or the access to it, you have a lot of haters or naysayers in your head, actually. And so part of the training is actually to deal with that, to realize what is really blocking you from expressing yourself fully, maybe, which might be that uncle who laughed at you when you sang, or you know what I mean? Or
what
you
was
know,
yours at the time?
I was, I mean, you know, it's so crazy because I was just like tunnel vision, you know? And I was from Cleveland, and I really, you know, to me it was like I was starting at the bottom, you know, I was in the hood and everything, and it was my way to get out of the hood and get out of gangs and the drug game and all that. And everybody was kind of receptive to my work, even as a young actor, which I didn't understand, but I was appreciative of it. And I just, I actually, now when I look back at it, I mean, I remember my uncle saying like, okay, so how you gonna make it? You know, how you gonna break it in this business? What you gonna do? And I'm about 15, and I was like, well, Unc, I mean, I know it's really hard and it's almost impossible, so I'm gonna have to be amazing and electrify the world. You know what I mean? It was just like, I'm gonna have to just be like crazy. I'm gonna be a teen idol. I'm gonna be, you know.
Yeah.
So I set a high bar even for myself, and I just, I don't know if I ever became a teen idol, but I did star in some movies as a teen, guy, and I just didn't hear it, you know. Now my mom will remind me, and I think she caught most of it, actually. I think my mom caught most of the flack. Everybody, they would just tell me like, oh yeah, that's good, Rick. Yeah, you going to do that, you know what I mean? Then they tell my mother, why you letting that boy study acting, girl? Let him be a doctor. Let him get in school, you know. So she caught most of it, so she was my buffer, actually. But for me, I think it's just positive, trying to stay positive. And I think that's something that you got to do all your life and all your career. And actually, some of the harder moments are after you've had success on a high level, maybe like a Law and Order or something like that, and then you have a dip in your career, or you're looking for the next job, and people are telling you like, well, is that the last? Is that, have you, are you has been, or, You know what I mean?
Not to allow that defeat come into you.
Right, exactly. And so you just really have to stay an eternal student and keep putting
Keep
like
going.
positive energy into you. You know what I mean? I listen to tapes. I listen to a lot of stuff just to keep myself like on a, clear,
Yeah, what do they say? You're only as good as your last job. That's what a lot of people like
Yeah,
to quote.
yeah, they like to say that. And it's hard with acting because as I tell my daughters and stuff too, is that like every step is another line to cross. So from getting the agent to getting the audition to getting the movie to doing the movie, then to the movie getting released, and then to the movie being received and being a hit. You know
It's a
what I mean?
process.
Yeah, and if any of those fail, you're back to square one. All of a sudden, you're like, okay, I'll start in all these movies. Nobody's seen. They were great movies, great performances, and people don't know.
Yeah.
So then you're back to just saying, and you can't brag about it. You can't get ahead of it. And then sometimes movies will take a year to come out or something like that. So you got to be cool, and so it's a lot. It's a lot.
And at what point while you were doing theater did you get an agent? I know you said you made the transition you kind of covered a lot of territory. You went from Ohio to
Right,
Michigan to
yeah,
New York,
to New York,
and then to
yeah.
LA. And I know that the acting scene is so different from the West Coast to the East Coast. When did
Yeah.
you kind of make that transition of going and getting an agent and that process?
Well, my plan at the time was, as I had read a lot of books, all these books on breaking into Hollywood, breaking into acting, surviving, all these kind of books I was really researching. And there weren't a lot of black actors who were working at that time because
Yeah.
this was like, 80s, 90s and stuff. So what I did do was I tried to pick a school that had a faculty that were professional actors or professional people in the industry. And so I felt that at least by working with them and by them seeing my work in class, that maybe they would be an entree into the business. And so, and that actually kind of worked out at the end. I had graduated from Circle in the Square, and one of my acting teachers, who was a well-known actress in New York, I caught her coming out of the Equity building one day, and I was just like, she's like, oh, I was like, hey, Jackie, what you doing? She's like, oh, I just left my agent's office. And I was like, you got an agent? Can you help me? Can you refer me to your agent or something like that? And I had to stay on her for a couple months, and then she called her agents, and then the agents took me a couple months before they would see me and do my monologues. And then I managed to get the agents like that in New York. And it was funny because years later she would tell me, because I was thanking her so much. I was like, wow, Jackie, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have got this agent. I wouldn't have got these parts. I wouldn't have got this career that I have, And she was like, tell you the truth, I used to send all, I must have sent like 30 or 40 students to my agents, actually, over the years. You're the first one that they signed.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Actually. And it was weird for her because the agents would actually call her up and thank her for referring me,
Oh, wow, that's big.
That's
yeah, which was
amazing.
really kind of cool, So it still is. It's interesting how you see it and you think like, wow, she did this big thing for me, and it was big, of course. But for her, it was like, yeah, I just referred you. You know what I mean? You can't have to thank me for it, But that kind of worked, and I actually used to tell actors that you should try to start in New York because it's a little easier to get an agent, and hopefully try to find an agent that's bi-coastal, and then move to LA like that. You know, so that's kind of how I did it.
And then you had done several plays that you mentioned while you were in New York, and I know that August Wilson's Fences you were a part of, correct? Was that one of your major ones?
Fences was Fences was one of the plays that I did. I did it as a reading at the Eugene O'Neill conference, actually, right as one of the first readings of it, actually, and I got to work with Mary Alice, who ended up playing it on Broadway, and they kind of wanted me to go and do it on Broadway, but I would have had to go back to school and go to Yale University or something like that. So so yeah, but it was great. August is one of my mentors, and it's a great loss to the theater community that he's gone. Yeah.
What is it about his storytelling that you enjoyed acting in, or just reading as a whole?
Well, August. His words are like music, and so if you can find the rhythm, if you can find the energy of his words, they will carry you. It will carry you like a melody or something like that. And so that was what was really great about him. His ear. Sometimes you'd be in rehearsals with him, and he would just close his eyes. He would just listen to the voices like a music, like a jazz musician.
When you moved from
I'm gonna take this off, guys. You don't mind? It's a
No,
little warm out
get
here.
comfortable.
Right.
when you moved from New York to LA, what would you say was kind of like the biggest difference for you that you noticed, like auditioning wise, or just even just getting the jobs?
From New York
Did you
to
notice
LA?
it? Yeah.
Well, LA is
Like you said, New York was a lot easier to get agents, and so was it easier for auditioning wise, or was LA kind of just a bigger pond? And
well, LA is very receptive to new talent, I think, So coming out here, it was like a breath of fresh air. New York is kind of tough in a certain kind of way to get into the theater community. It's kind of it's close knit, and you kind of have to earn your way through there.
Mm-hmm.
But LA, they might need a young actor and they need a part, and the show is casting and they need you for the next week or something like that. So that really worked really well for me when I came out here. All of a sudden, I was right on Hill Street Blues and doing movies of the week, and they needed young actors. They needed you to play college kids or something like that. So it was just good. LA was really cool.
And Hill Street was one of your major first TV appearances, correct?
Yeah.
And how did you land the role? And then what was it like being on that type of set for your your first big role?
That was a crazy story. I had a friend from school who had landed a regular part on the show called Bay City Blues, which was a spinoff of Hill Street Blues, actually. And we had gone to school together, and he invited me to come out to LA to hang with him on the set for a couple weeks. And while I was on the set with him, I met the directors and the producers of his show, and Hill Street Blues was like the main show. Of course, it was the big hit show. So I was hanging around the set and I was talking with them, and when the part finally came up, the role that I got, I had I must have had like 10 minutes to get to the casting office at the time. My agent called me at like 10 minutes to 10, said, "Can you get in for this part? Can you get in for this audition?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I just jumped in the car, ran to the audition, and had to go through, the casting person first before I could get to the producers. So I went to her in the morning. She liked what I did, and then she was like, "Okay, can you come back for the producers in the afternoon?" I went in for them, and as I walked into the room, I realized it was the one director who I'd been hanging out with on the set of Bay City Blues. You know what I mean? So that was cool. And then he loved my work, and he said, "Okay, can you wait outside after I did my scene?" And then he said, he came back out and he said, "You work for cheap, right?" And that's how that started. And so he's like, "Okay, we're gonna give you everything. We're gonna make you SAG. We're gonna make you,
Oh, wow.
We're gonna make,
The actor's dream, that famous word, SAG.
Yeah, SAG. Yeah, at the time, yeah."
well,
So it was big.
What was it like to be, so in theater, your family and people they don't get to see it as easily and often as being in television. What was that like once you started to appear on television, and like family and friends and everybody are actually seeing you do this on a regular basis?
Well,
That uncle.
especially those
exactly.
haters chirping in your mom's ear.
I mean, this story, I don't know. This story is so hard to tell. It was so crazy because, actually, I don't even know why I can confess this to you guys, but it was so crazy because I was out in LA. I was out here for 2 weeks with my friend, right? So that's part of that other story I was just telling you. And something said, "Well, why don't you try 2 more weeks out here," right? And I had only intended to stay for 2 weeks, and I was crashing on people's houses and floors. So, and my mom had moved out here from Cleveland like the year before with my stepfather, and he was working, just, basic jobs, garbage man and, handyman, different things, So at some point, I guess it was about, maybe I've been out here 3 weeks, and he told me, "Okay, you know what, you're going to have to get a job, right? I know you're doing this acting stuff or whatever, but you're going to have to get you a mop and bucket," which is what we called it, you know what I mean? "And make some money, take care of yourself or whatever. You can't just be like out here, just doing this thing or whatever." And I said, so it really hit me hard, and I said, "Okay, I tell you what, if I don't have a job by the end of this week, I'll get a mop and bucket," right? And this is and it was a big dare for me, but I said, okay, and it was hard for me. And it was that Friday, like the last day of that week, that I got the audition
Wow.
for the Hill Street Blues.
Wow.
And then I landed this big part, right? So he kind of didn't believe it after I got the part. He was just like, no, you don't have the part or whatever. And then it aired really quick because TV is like that, you know. So maybe like 2 months later, it was on the air, and he literally lost his mind. He literally could not watch the show. I came on, he saw me for a few minutes. He was out, chain smoking, going crazy.
Wow.
You know, just like it totally wrecked him. You know what I mean? It was so crazy. And all my friends at school who were watching it, they were still like maybe the year behind me or whatever. They were like all at the bar watching it, cheering, going like, oh, wow, I see the technique. I see you picking up the glass of water, and it's all the sense memory and all the stuff. You know, they knew what I was doing as far as, but it was great, and it just launched me really quickly. But yeah, for all the naysayers, it was really hard, and that's something I think actors really have to know, or people who, you know, when you do make it, people actually are more comfortable with you not making it, actually, you know, and they
You said they're more comfortable with you?
Yeah, they're actually more comfortable with you failing because it shows that they couldn't have done it.
They couldn't have done it,
And it confirms that why they let their dreams slide or whatever. So
Did you have that moment though of like when you saw yourself and all the naysayers, were you like, yep, I did it, you know, that's me. I'm on my way.
Yeah, I did. I mean, in a certain kind of way, but I never really feel like that. I always feel like I have something to prove, and I have to keep working. And I was like, and everybody else wanted to tell me that. Maybe my mom was like, okay, now you made it, now you in. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, that's one job. Now I got to get another one. I got to get another one. There's always a next job. I got to make a string of roles before I'll be taken serious as an actor. And even now with something like Being Mary Jane, it's a reinventing of myself in a certain kind of way, you know, and people are still like surprised. They still like, wow, you could do that and you do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that you always have to do. You know, you always have to just keep coming at it.
Going.
You know? Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
And you mentioned string of roles. I mean, you had a tremendous amount of roles. After that, you had Teen Wolf movie. You had Resting Place, ER, NCIS, Firefly. I mean, you've been working. You kept it going. The momentum was on fire.
Yeah.
What was one of your favorite sets to be on, like during that time period? Those earlier sets before Law and Order.
Well, To Sleep with Anger was really a great set. I made a lot of friends on that one. Danny Glover was the star of that one with us, and it's a little known film, but it's a little, I'd say it has some semblances of Being Mary Jane in a certain kind of way as far as that family dynamic, and that was just a beautiful set to be on. I mean, wow. All the movies are. I mean, I'm always so happy to be working. You know, Badge of the Assassin was a crazy movie. Yeah, Badge of the Assassin with Yaphet Kotto and James Woods on that with me, and Pam Grier. I met Pam Grier on that, which was amazing. Here, I mean, she was like, I was like, oh my God, that's Pam Grier. You know what I mean? I'd grown up watching her in the movies, and she was still beautiful and sexy. So you know. That was a great set because then I got to meet a few girls. You know, that was kind of good.
The perks of an actor.
On, yeah. Sometimes that was my motivation too, because you know you be out here like isolated in LA, which is very easy to do. You just find yourself in your apartment going like, okay, nobody's calling me. What's going on? Another sunny day, the sun is shining, you know, and nothing's going on. And part of my motivation sometimes became, okay, I got to meet people, I got to get out, so I better book a job. And so I can get on a set and I can make some friends and I can hang out, you know. And just because working out here is really how you meet people in a way.
That's
you know,
true.
Working, you know.
And then you've been on so many sets, and you mentioned Danny Glover, and you worked with Morgan Freeman as well.
Morgan.
Who has been somebody who just, you left that scene or that set and you were like, this is the best actor ever, this person blew you away?
Oh.
Probably so many to choose from, so many people.
Well, I mean, Mary Alice, I don't know if everyone's familiar with her work, but Mary Alice, her work always just slays me completely. I mean, she played my mom in To Sleep with Anger, and she had guest starred on Law and Order when I was there and stuff, and I just think that she's one of the great treasures that maybe, I'm not sure if everyone's really familiar with her, but she's one of the greatest actresses ever I'd seen. You know, I saw her in NEC's production of Zoom Man and the Sign with Giancarlo Esposito. He was playing Zoom Man. It was one of his early, and at that time I was still in school, and I was an usher. I actually got a job at work study as an usher at the Negro Ensemble Company in New York. I got to see that play. I got to see A Soldier Story with Denzel in one of his early roles before he really became Denzel, you know. And but yeah, Mary Alice, I probably would say she just brings it so purely, you know. And she, you know, of course, she did Fences on Broadway.
She did Fences, yeah.
Right, and Tony Award winner. I mean, she's a great actress, yeah.
And then you moved on to 1996. You got the role in Law and Order, which was the big baby, the big monster.
Well, yeah, that one was crazy. That was really great. That's funny. It's a funny thing with Law and Order now, especially now that I have like Being Mary Jane. It's really funny because people were like surprised to see me as Patrick in a certain kind of way.
That was me.
And it's so funny to me because actually Robinette was the stretch, and when I went to the audition, I was actually in one of my first suits that I ever had, because actually before then I was just playing street kids and thugs and drug dealers, you know, and then the Shakedown and all kind of movies like that. I was always edgy and bad, and this role actually I had to put on the suit, and when I went to the audition, I'd gone in for another movie, The Mighty Quinn, I guess it became, and so I had these extensions I put in. I was doing my Milli Vanilli, you know, man, I had my look with my braids, you know, like, you know what I mean, you know, blame it on the rain, you know,
girl,
whatever.
you know it's true,
right, girl, you know it's true, yeah, right, you know what I mean, and I put that back in a ponytail, and I went in the suit, and all of a sudden I'm walking in with all these heavy hitters at Universal to go in for like the straight arrow Robinette kind of character, and they still liked my performance. Their only question was like, will you cut your hair, you know?
Yeah.
But that was actually, I had to do a lot of work as far as to get the legalese together, get the articulation together, to get that kind of persona and that kind of steadiness of him that I wanted to bring to Robinette. But that actually was less me than, you know, than Patrick is. So that's kind of what the irony of it all is. When you're an actor, you get typecast and people think that's what you do, you know?
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of my questions, because your character, Robinette, had a lot of racial equality that he stood for on the show.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, was that something that was important to you and you had them write that in, or was that already a part of his character on the show before you landed the role?
Well, you know, the show was one of the great things about the show was in the concept, because I was there from the pilot all the way through. And so one of the concepts was to take current affairs, issues that were right out the headlines, and put a spin on them. So maybe if it was, you know, if a white man killed a black youth, you know, what would happen if a white woman killed a black youth? Or, you know, how would that change, you know, if the sex changed, or if the race changed, or some part of the dynamic of the same issue changed, you know? So the social issues that we were dealing with at the time were issues that I actually had to educate myself on, because I was just coming straight up as a young actor, just living in the day. You know, I current affairs was something I wasn't really as well versed in, so I had to really work at that. And but I did at the time. You know, at the time I felt that there weren't a lot of African American actors playing serious, heavy authority figures.
Yeah, with that kind of title.
Yeah, with that kind of title, right. And so I wanted to bring that, you know, this is all like, of course, pre-Obama and all that kind of stuff, and I really wanted to put that image out if it was possible, and I was glad and blessed, you know, that Dick Wolf had that vision and everybody shared that vision, but a lot of it was a joint vision. You know, I made an active choice to limit my smiling and to make him actually feel the issues, because I felt here you had a guy who was from Harlem who had decided, instead of going the Johnny Cochran way or whatever, to actually join the system, to become a prosecutor, and realize that he could affect change more behind, you know, the closed doors where the decisions are really being made as opposed to being outside. And that was my take on him as Robinette. So I felt he had to be extra smart. He had to be that voice for the, you know, the guilty before proven innocent, you know, black youth or persona or, you know, person like that. And I've actually seen that, which is weird. I mean, it was weird. I did like a jury duty out here once a few years ago, and I was really surprised that I was like the only black guy in the jury who had gotten picked. A lot of white women and things like that, and they actually was a black guy who had he was being tried for giving a ride to this other Hispanic guy who had gotten out of his car and snatched the chain off of this other Hispanic guy.
Oh, man.
Who was like, he saw this guy, like his car had stopped or something like this downtown, and he had jumped out the car and got into some kind of altercation with the guy and snatched his chain, right, and pushed him down, and then jumped back in the car with the black guy, and they drove away, right. So the guy followed them and got the license plates or whatever. So fast forward to the black guy who was driving was now being like tried as an accomplice to robbery and all this kind of stuff.
Man.
And his argument was, I just gave this guy a ride. I didn't really know him that well. I was trying to tell him I didn't know he was going to jump out and smash on this guy. You know what I mean? And but the jury was like, he did it. He knew it. That was his boy. He's gone. Put him away. I mean, it was so automatic that he was so guilty.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Before, I mean, he was just, and they actually would say that they would say like, well, if he wasn't guilty, he wouldn't be here, you know. And then the guy who was, I guess, the defendant, when they brought him in to testify, he was in the orange jersey and the chains and stuff because he had been arrested after the fact for some other thing, you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
So, and the prosecutor was just trying to get this guy, and I just said, wow, this is kind of why I really wanted, I'm glad I had the chance to play Robinette kind of character, because I don't even know if people had that kind of regard for a black man at that time, that he could have that kind of integrity or something like that, So I really love Robinette for that, and hopefully that has been his legacy. The legacy.
So it kind of made you look at the criminal system differently by playing that, that role and all the knowledge that you obtained while playing that role.
It really did. Yeah, it really did. And and it has helped me a great deal. I learned a lot about law, and maybe I would have been a lawyer at some point. People say, "Oh, you should be a lawyer," but now I look at all my own contracts. I'm pretty good at all that stuff now, actually. Yeah. As
an actor with that role and it kind of elevating your mindset, did you feel from that point, you said you were kind of always playing the typical street role. Did you feel from this point on, like, okay, I want to take an active responsibility as far as selecting certain roles versus playing stereotypical ones? Was there any of that kind of?
Well, I mean, no, I mean, what I try to do is to bring humanity or something to all my characters and to try to bring some kind of understanding. So even if I'm playing a drug dealer, to me, he has a history, and he's driven to this by the circumstances that he sees himself in, and that this is his best option to get out of it, or he doesn't have any choice, So, and I try to hopefully people will understand him a little bit more. Even with somebody like a Patrick, I know everybody's like, oh man, Patrick is a slacker, Patrick is this, but to me it's like, well, Patrick he's down on his luck right now. He's trying to come back up. He's trying, he's trying to do what he can do, Maybe he fails or whatever, but he's going to keep on trying. He's going to keep on trying to be a good man and live his dream and overcome his own, addictions or whatever, and that is a drama. And I think that there's a lot of men who are dealing with those kind of things. I mean, most of the kids, I grew up in the hood, so most of the kids who are slinging, they're not growing up saying, oh, yeah, I want to be a drug dealer. You know what I mean? They're basically like, my mom, the bills have got to be paid. She ain't getting enough work. The debt is piling up on us. I got to go out and do something. I got to put food on the table for my little brothers and sisters, and this is my option. They living in a world of limited possibilities and visions where they don't even know how to get out. Some kids up in South Central, whatever, they might not even know how to get downtown, or they've never even been to the beach. You know what I mean? Because this is just their world. And so in that world, this is the opportunities they see. They can't go over to the Korean store and get a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in all my characters, I try to find that level of humanity in them if I can, and bring that to the forefront.
And in selecting your characters, even while you were working on Law & Order, was there any storylines? I mean, because sometimes Law & Order can get pretty dark. Were there any storylines where you were like, you know what, we need to readjust the script a little bit, or you just didn't want to do the scene?
Well, you try that, and then you also try to play your position,
Yeah.
And there were instances where I was younger, and I might have felt like, especially maybe after the uprising out here in '92 or so, there was a storyline that I thought sort of put a slant on it that I didn't know if I agreed with. At the time I was thinking the Rodney King thing he was a victim or whatever. And I felt, oh, this storyline, they put a spin on it that I said, oh, that turns it into, you know, something else. But as I reflected on it, I realized, well, you know, what can I do? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, on that level, it's just, these are the stories that we tell, this is the world we live in. I'm an actor, I'm not the writer, I'm not the producer. You know, all I can do is try to make my own projects. I can try to be, you know, get more power and tell my own stories, but I have to play the role, you know, I have to do what I have to do. So I actually tried to learn from that, and it was a topical series, and that sometimes that was hard, and it would put a strain on me in a way,
Yeah.
because I would feel the weight. I would be so invested in the stories that I could actually feel, you know, the cases of you know, there was a case of the girl being raped and written, you know, and drawn on, and you know, what was her name? You know, you know what I'm saying? You know, Tawala or something.
I know exactly
You know, I'm
what
talking
you're
about that story. Yeah, right. You know what I mean?
I can't think of
I
the
mean,
can't think of her name, but-
yeah. And so a lot of those cases would just upset me, you know. But I felt like Robinette would be upset too, you know.
Yeah.
So I felt like, let me just bring that to it, and let me just use that instead of trying to deny it or something like that, you know.
How did you shake that off to maintain your separation? Because that's, I mean, our drama, you guys are working hours long, weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you have family, girlfriends, wives at home. Like, how did you separate from that, but still be as invested as you are in the character, because you have to be?
I don't, you know, I think that it's acting like on that level, and all of us in that cast, we all had made a certain kind of commitment to launch that show, from Chris Nov to Michael Moriarty, you know, George Zunza and myself. And I think it did affect us, you know, it actually did affect us. And what's ironic about that is actually, if you know the history of prosecutors and cops and stuff like that, they are affected by the work. And there is a burnout factor for district attorneys. Maybe they only last 3 to 4 or 5 years actually in the job. There's some who last, you know, they get promoted or whatever. But in general, the job does weigh on them, and they do have to get out and go into private practice or go into something else. I think the same way as soldiers, you know, our soldiers out there fighting, you know, I think when they come back, they are affected by what they've seen. It does scar them. And if you are portraying that as intensely and realistically as we were trying to, it did affect us. And, you know, even my co-star, Moriarty, I think part of what happened to him was it did get to him at a certain point, you know, and when he left the show, you know, it had changed him a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it had been a strain, and you know, and there had been some sort of break that happens. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. The work that we do is really hard, and I guess that's why you do need the training, actually. You know, because the training, hopefully, you have muscles, so you can bounce back and you can shake it off. But you know, I take vacations, and yeah, you got your love stories, and you know, and families going on, and you know.
And music.
Yeah, music. yeah, music was definitely, music came back to me about that time. Music, I found myself singing, like singing in the trailers, and just buying a lot of songs and CDs, and just, blasting and putting myself into, like, that's true.
Ways.
Yeah, I definitely had to get my swing on,
You talked about power, and in 1998, you made your directing debut in Johnny Be Good.
Wow.
What was that like for you, kind of moving from in front of the camera to now being in front of the camera and also being behind the camera? What was that like?
I mean, I love that. And I actually love it, and I admire, like, Clint Eastwood and actors like that, because for me, I actually prefer directing and acting at the same time, which might be strange. People think that's a vanity project or whatever, but actually I'm so used to the camera moving around me and the feeling of it from being in the center of it that I can actually direct pretty well like that, and the moves and things like that. So the power of that, that was one that I financed a great deal of that one myself, and I edited it myself, and I learned everything. I'd gone to film school in between acting jobs when I was starting out here in LA, you know, at LACC and their film department, things like that. And so it was really good. Now, what was hard with it was realizing, again, like I say, all those lines that you always got to take over, of distributing, you know. So all of a sudden now you've made it, and now you have to get it out, and now it has to be received, and then you got to get paid, you know. And that was where I realized, I said, okay, well now I got to start a distribution company or something, you know what I mean? Or I might have to get my own theater or something, you know what I mean? Because it's there's always another hurdle, and you realize, oh, you know, when I was putting out my own CDs, and I had a record label too around that same time with the production company, that was a thing where you saw that the industry was changing, and record stores started closing. Tower Records was losing, you know, independent.
Tower
Yeah, it was going down.
Right, you know
Tower
what I mean?
Records,
All
it's
Tower
like an
Records,
ancient
you know?
word.
Yeah, right. Can you believe that? And so you get caught in the times, and the technology was changing. I was shooting on the 16 millimeter, and the digital was starting to come out. Then they had the high aid, and all of a sudden it was going, you know, to digital on me. So all that, the technology and making your own projects, it all kind of goes together, and how you're going to distribute them. And this is all of course, pre-Facebook. I mean, you know, when we think back, Facebook is what, 9 years old or 10 years?
10 years
today?
old.
10 years old,
Yeah.
you know. So, and it started small, and of course it didn't even take off for maybe the first couple of years, I would think, the way it is now, you know. So yeah, it did feel good. It felt good to be casting actors and telling a good story, and giving opportunities to screenwriters and things like that, you know. And I want to do more of that, definitely.
As an actor, do you feel like you learned more about the character being so invested behind the scenes, or do you feel like, I mean, they're just two totally separate jobs, and you got to be focused and kind of that sense of it?
I just had to prepare a lot. I had to really prepare as an actor first, so that I wouldn't have to think about the acting. I could just focus on the directing when it was time to direct. So, but since I guess I had, one thing that was good was actually I had to break down the script, and I had to learn to do the boards, and at that time we were doing strip boards and all that kind of stuff, you know, everything by hand. So I really knew the story, and I really understood the character and everyone else's character, and that did influence me, I think, as an actor. Actually, now I'm a lot more aware of my function in the stories, and how I'm helping to tell the overall story and take the audience on the journey, sort of like that, you know, whether I'm directing or not directing, you know.
Well, you're definitely taking the audience on the journey with being Mary Jane
as
your character, Patrick Patterson, which is getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah, man. Oh,
Lots of buzz.
I love it so much.
When you first read the script and saw the character, what did you think about Patrick?
I instantly understood Patrick. It was really one of those weird things. I didn't have to do a lot of work on the character. I didn't have to do. Only thing I was worried about was if they would get my interpretation, and if it was the same interpretation that they had, if it was aligned with them, you know. And I was really fortunate that Mara and Salim, our creative producers, executive producers, seemed to embrace it, understand it, love it, you know. And it wasn't just Patrick. It was also the fact that it was amazing to have them saying, like, okay, we're going to create like a great quality drama here, though. You know, we're not just going to put on a series or a television. We actually want to create the kind of drama that can stand up with any other dramas on television and tell stories that are our stories, but have a universality to it that can transcend our culture, and that all cultures will be able to look at us and see themselves in us, and you know, we want, I mean, not to be bragging or anything, but you know, we want to be putting in the kind of work that is award worthy and is recognized as such, and BET is right there with us and ready for that journey, and they've already been doing great dramas now, you know, great shows now, and it's in the last few years with The Game and, you know, Let's Stay Together and all the other shows, you know what I mean? I mean, they've been going there, you know, and this is just the next where they're at now, and I'm sure they're going to go even more, and it's just great to be a part of this kind of transformation, because for so many years they've gotten such a bad rep, I think. And I have people try to tell me, like, oh, you on BET, well, you know, oh, I don't watch, you know, shows. I'm like, you got to get with it. I mean, you know, we got hit shows on Netflix now, you know, that are like high quality award winning, you know, dramas, and so the work can be done anywhere. You know, you just have to put in the work and how to put the team together, how the cast together, have the resources, you know.
And your character is different. We were talking about that you've played a lot of, you know, more authoritarian characters. But this one he's kind of considered the less motivated, recovering drug addict
Right.
type
Well,
of
you looking
film?
at me like that, right?
I was so sad when you relapsed 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, but I felt the pain because you was trying and you went and met with your friend to try to start your business back up, and everybody just smacked it down. And it was a great brother-sister moment you had with your reunion, and y'all both relapsed, and I was like, Lord.
See, your audience is right here. Your audience is in the studio too.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But how did you prepare
hard.
differently for this role versus your more, lawyer roles or detective roles or, that type of film?
Well, this role is so fun and so good and so relatable, and it's great because we're not. All my other roles, a lot of those roles like Law and Order, are all kind of procedural. So there's a story, and it's all about the case and solving the crime. Here, it's really about the subtleties of life and the struggles that we go through on a day-to-day basis, and I relish it, man. I just love being able to get in touch with that, and my only real preparation or my only consistent outlook on it is to stay in the time. I feel like now we're in a post-Obama world. I feel like we're in a world where there aren't the limitations. The glass ceiling has been broken. We can't just say, oh, we can't do this because we're black. We can't do this because, we can do it. We can do it.
It can be achieved.
Yeah, we can achieve it. And also you're dealing with a world where everybody is watching, reality television. And that's becoming real. So I feel like the acting style has to be even more real, has to be more raw. It has to be really, you can't be acting. You really have to. People are expecting to see life, real life now, and they are seeing that, and so I think that's part of what everyone's related to with the show so well, is that all the actors, the whole cast, from Gabrielle to everybody, is just sort of bringing it so hard, so raw, so happy to have this opportunity to be in such a great show,
Yeah, Robin Lee was on our show a month ago, and she mentioned how Mara is just unbelievable with her writing, obviously, and letting the actor kind of create and kind of experiment while you're on set. Has that been your experience as well?
Totally. I mean, not to try to indicate at all that we are creating. I mean, it is all Mara. I mean, those are her words, and our job is definitely to use and embellish her words and to bring them to life. And her words are just that true. They are just that, to that level. And then it's amazing because then her husband, Salim, is this incredible director.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And I mean, he directs all the shows so far, and so we have this consistent vision between the two of them that she's writing it and he's directing. I mean, and so it's just so tight,
Yeah.
And they're just the best people in
They
the world.
are,
I mean, they are the best, the most loved. I mean, you can't, to know them is to love them. I mean, it's crazy. And even from the first minute that I saw them, when I first went into the first, my first meeting with them, they just have this energy that you just love them. And so I think that that's what comes across with the cast and with our work and when we're on the set. I think that it starts at the top, as they say, and she does. But of course they do give us freedom to, to really bring life to it. And if something's not working, then we can try to say, okay, what can we do like this? But it's amazing. She's just an amazing writer, and her creative team, her writing team is crazy, man. They're crazy. And I hear, now this is the only thing I can tell y'all, I hear that the second season is going to be even more like crazy and amazing. Like
I see Courtney's eyes lighting up from, I can see it.
Outrageous. I've been pulled to the side and said, man, you know what I mean? If you like the first season,
stepping it up.
Oh,
so
man.
when y'all shooting that?
Well, that's the day. Yeah, hopefully we'll be shooting this soon.
This summer? Okay.
Yeah.
You've brought in so many stories to life throughout the years. What's a story that you think needs to be told on TV that hasn't yet? Or theater, stage, movie?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stories. I mean, I guess the thing that's interesting right now is I just think how we've become a cell phone world, and how your whole life is in your cell phone.
That's very true.
And when somebody goes into your cell phone or whatever, you know what I mean, or whatever, I mean, you're just like
It's like they're entering your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know
And
what I
your
mean?
babies are in there.
Yeah, and with these smartphones, it has just changed so much of everything. All from all your photos in there, your numbers, your passwords, your life, you know, your credit card. It's just, I don't know how we can get that story out, and I think it's hurting relationships. It has all kind of, I mean, it's crazy.
But do you think we're too far gone in technology now to ever go back? You know, I mean, like, how do you take it away at this point when it's so advanced? You know?
No, there's no going back. I don't think. You know, there's no going back. It's just, you just got to keep dealing with this whole thing. You know.
And hope we don't turn to a world of Wall-E. You know?
Yeah, man, yeah, it's wild. You know.
For her.
Yeah,
Did you
and
see
there's
her?
so much. Exactly, and like our show. I mean, our show is such a Twitter-based show too. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah, you
just
guys
like
have a
we're
huge Twitter
trending.
following.
Yeah, it's crazy, and
Yeah.
we just trend #1 in the world and all kind of stuff when we're on, and that was something that wasn't around. Of course, when I was doing Law and Order or something like that. So, yeah, I think that those stories, and I don't know what the new generation is, where they can, you know, tweet and talk, and you know, I was even as a dad, I was always
I was just
watching.
gonna say.
Yeah, as a dad, man, you know what I mean. You got, you know, they got the laptop in the room, and they can Skype with their boyfriends, you know, and so, you know, you got this virtual kind of, you know, strip shows going on too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, relationships and strip. You know what I mean? You don't know what
Yeah.
they're doing. They close the door. You know, and it's just like, okay,
So
I'm
no
going to
locks
bed.
in your house.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so.
Are you a strict dad?
I don't. Maybe I don't
Well,
know.
tell it from his
Yeah, maybe
side.
I should ask the daughters.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, you can't. You know, what can you do? Yeah, you gotta just trust. You know, you gotta trust.
You gotta trust.
your kids. Yeah, and just hope. You know, and try to be around.
Yeah.
Make sure you keep the boogeymans out. You know what I mean?
And we're obviously celebrating Black History Month, and there's been just a lot of coverage with 12 Years a Slave, Black films as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, we've had this conversation in the studio. Do you think that this is going to allow more opportunities for Black actors to get projects greenlit in Hollywood, or is this something that it's all hype now, and then we're going to kind of go back to the same old, same old?
Wow. I don't know. I think. I mean, I think we've always gotten stories out.
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about is the high quality, mainstream acceptance, widely distributed, award-winning kind of
There's that word
stories.
distributed again.
Yeah, distributed. That's heavy, right? Because there's a lot of
Distributed.
movies. I mean, you can hit, you hit Redbox on Netflix, and you realize there's a whole slew of movies that, you know, you go to the Pan African Film Festival or all these festivals. There's a lot of great stories that are
There
being
is.
told
Yeah.
that just can't get out. They just can't get out, you know. And it's hard. It's even hard now to get into the film festivals that you used to be able to get into, like Sundance and things like that. The competition is so stiff. And most of those movies don't get picked up anymore. So that's really the challenge. I think the challenge is always to get the kind of backing for the marketing and distribution of the projects, as opposed to getting the stories told.
Yeah.
You know, because now we have the means. You get even with your cell phone.
That's true. You can do everything
you know,
there.
Yeah, right.
On
You
your
know, you can
iPhone.
make, yeah, right. You know, you got iMovie, and so I hope that there's going to be. I mean, I don't really want to. I don't actually want to live in a world where I'm negative, thinking that there's lack or scarcity of stuff. I believe we're telling our stories and that we're doing really, really well, and I think we're in an enviable position in a certain kind of way, because I think the Latin or the Asian, you know, communities, I think their stories need to be told too,
Yeah.
and they also have to, you know, have to you know, have these kind of stories told, like, you know, 12 Years a Slave or things like that, you know. But I just want to have more, I don't want to say positive, but, you know, I grew up in the 70s, so I'm used to, like, the black exploitations. I'm used to, like, The Shaft, you know, like Richard Roundtree. I mean, I want to see strong men, you know. I want to see us with strong stories, and I want our characters to be able to make the choices that any strong dominant culture would make, you know. So, you know, if I'm 12 years a slave, you know, I want to be kicking butt and taking numbers, you know what I mean? I want to be like, oh, you know what I mean? You know, even though that might not have happened, you know. But I like the stories. Like I did a Frederick Douglas for PBS last year or the year before, and called The Abolitionists.
Yeah, I remember.
And that story I really loved, because I felt that it showed the struggle to actually eliminate slavery, and as a heroic journey, almost like the Avengers or whatever. I mean, these were like a small, you know, group of people who were actually trying to make change in an impossible situation in a world where slavery was not only the norm, but it was an institution that was never going to change. And actually, and there was, you know, there was all kind of legislation for it to be eternal, actually, you know. So, and it took a civil war to change it. So, I like the stories that, you know, Nat Turner, stories like that, you know, that actually, I want to see those stories told out. What I would like to see more of is the stories that are empowering to us, that make us, you know, don't take us out of any kind of victim state, because I don't know if we are victims anymore. I mean, you know, I think President Obama has shown that, you know, we can do whatever. This is a different world. It's the 21st century, and I don't need to necessarily be reminded of anything, you know.
That's
personally,
true.
you know, I just want to be moving forward and trying to do it today, because today is enough of a struggle for me. It's definitely enough. You know, I got enough trying to figure out how to make it right now, you know.
And we've talked about how you bring all of these stories to life, and you released your R&B album, Smooth Love.
Smooth Love.
Yeah.
Why was that so important for you? Was that something that you want to, you know, you're telling everyone else's stories, you wanted to tell your own story, or why was that important for you to release an album?
Well, you know, I love music, and I love, again, I guess I'm a throwback. I love the Teddy Pendergrass, the Barry White, you know, Marvin Gaye.
So you like the baby making music? Is what
Yeah,
you're
I
saying.
definitely like. Yeah, right. That's why you got Smooth Love. That's the title, you know. So, yeah, I like that. I like that persona, and I just wanted to be a part of it. I just love music, and I'd fallen into contact with a lot of good producers, up and coming producers, who were giving me tracks. And I was able to work with them, and I developed a songwriting style, and I wanted to put out my music, and I realized I could, and so, you know, I did. Yeah.
Is that something that you want to keep consistent in your life?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, now, of course, now I'm trying to. I'm posting. I got a YouTube channel, and so I'm starting to post, and I've actually put out a few like really stripped down performances where I'm just in the studio with just vocal and piano or something like that, just to be. To cover those kind of great songs, you know, Can't Get Enough of Your Love, or, you know, You and I and Stevie Wonders or something like that. I just dropped Hero from Enrique Iglesias as a kind of stripped down. And
Wait, is that the Valentine's Day song that I heard you've been sending out?
Yeah, that is it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was my Valentine I just dropped out there. So that's kind of just more awareness. And now I got to go back to the drawing board. I think, and letting people know, yeah, I love the music. I'm doing the music, and I'm putting together a cover show, kind of, you know, with a lot of Barry White and Marvin Gaye kind of stuff in there.
Can we get a little
Little
quick sample, just to, you know, I know
Little
we gave you a little
taste.
water to warm up the throat a little bit,
yeah,
just
all right, let me
a,
take
you know,
a
just a
sip.
little,
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
little, you know,
For-
little 10
Right.
seconds of the
Okay.
vocals.
Just hear a little bit of that.
Just
Give
hear a
us
little bit.
our Black Hollywood Live
That's it, yeah.
Valentine
All right,
moment.
here we
Exactly.
go. Oh shit. Which one, man? I gotta run. Which one you want to hear? You know?
I mean, I'm
You
down to
pick
hear
what-
that hero.
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I know now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear that too.
All right.
I mean, it's Valentine's
I
Day.
can be your hero, baby. I can take away the pain. I will stand by you forever. You can take my breath away. Yeah, something like that.
Did you hear that sound?
Yeah, it went kind of down.
That sound, well, no, the sound was, it was like 800 women that just ran
very
up to the
right,
studio
all right,
because
yeah,
they
yeah.
heard your
They were
voice.
All right,
screaming
They're outside
and
screaming
blurting
right now
out.
for you.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
That's it, yeah.
That's what happened.
All right.
With the, you know, we just talked about, we have the show called The Beat here on Black Hollywood Live, and today we talked about the history of R&B and kind of where it started, and where it is today, and kind of, you know, hip-hop artists thinking that they might be R&B singers. What's your opinion of the R&B music today?
The state of R&B.
I'm kind of loving it. I don't know if it's getting a lot of airplay right now. You know, that might be the only thing that's kind of hard.
Who are some of your favorite artists right now?
Charlie Wilson. Of course.
Charlie's
I
the
love-
man.
Yeah, Charlie is the man. He's still riding it hard. You know.
He
and,
is. He brought it back,
He
actually.
really did.
brought
Yeah,
it back.
exactly.
He
Yeah,
brought it
Charlie
back.
really brought it back,
He
and
did.
you know, of course, R. Kelly and yeah, Neo is great. I mean, there's a lot. You know, Usher. I mean, those guys are really doing it. Yeah. You know, but on the old school, yeah, I'd have to give it to Charlie. Yeah. or you know, yeah, something like that. The Isley Brothers, you know, he's definitely, he's crazy. Yeah, he's amazing.
Can we expect to hear your sounds on the Being Mary Jane soundtrack or episode or anything?
Have some great
because they got some great music.
Yours will fall right in line with it. Yeah, I'd be fortunate. Yeah, if we could. Yeah, definitely. I love the music that they're playing. It's incredible. Yeah.
And outside of Being Mary Jane, where can fans see you next? Is there any other projects that you are working on that haven't been announced?
No, I've just been in the studio, just working on the music right now and trying to get ready for the second season. Yeah, that's pretty much it right now. I mean, well, I got, a movie, Miss Sophistication, that just came out with Harry Lennox. And that's about it, waiting on a couple other projects to happen.
And you've had such a long career. If you could use one word to kind of define your career, what would it be?
I don't want to say like survivor or whatever. That sounds like kind of crazy, but just one word to survive it, to describe it. Let's see. Blessed, maybe. Fortunate.
Blessed.
Yeah, blessed. Yeah.
It's a good choice. Yeah. And then fans, if they want to check out your Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, what are your handles?
Instagram and Twitter is RLB Soul. And Facebook is Richard Brooks, and I got Richard Lee Brooks fan page too. They can join. Yeah.
Courtney.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Stewart Starlet.
Jesse.
At DJ Jesse J.
You can find me at Derrial Christon on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you, Richard Brooks, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out Being Mary Jane on BET. Unbelievable show.
Right. There we go. I
and
can
listen
be
to his
your hero, baby.
We get the outro. You can keep singing. We keep going with the
I
outro.
can take away the pain. And I
Download
will
that.
stand by you forever. You can take my breath away.
You hear that?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy
See you next week.
Valentine's Day. All right.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Derrial Christon, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network. If you have questions or comments, tweet us at BHL Online or email us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. For more exclusive content, visit blackhollywoodlive.com. This has been a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network.
Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.
Thanks for watching Black Hollywood Live on YouTube. For more in-depth interviews and news, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion in the comment section below here. See you soon, everyone. Bye.